I'm not going to go too much into the technical this afternoon. We anyway don't have time for it. There's a bunch of stuff like, for instance, breathing. Like honestly, half of singing is breathing. Like breathing correctly and knowing how to breathe, but I'm not going to do stuff like that. That's what YouTube is there for. And as well, that's what vocal coaches are there for. I've never been to a vocal coach, and until last year I did a group session for 2 sessions. And that was like mind-blowing for me. Just what I learned in 2 one-hour sessions with somebody who was in a group of about 3 of us, so it wasn't even one-on-one. But just how she was able to analyze the way I stand and the way I breathe and things I do that I didn't realize that I do. It made a massive impact on me. So I encourage you to do those things. And we're going to give you a bunch of resources as well, a list of resources, places where you can go to find out more about vocals, the technical side. But if you've got the means, even if you want to do it as a worship team, get a vocal coach in for your worship team's vocals and spend some time chatting about these things. But I'm just going to focus more on a few like really practical points that I believe will help us today. And the one thing that I want to ask you is that you make a note of one thing. It can be more than one, but at least one thing that you're going to follow up on after the session. Okay, and we're going to share that with one another at the end of the session, because it's very easy to come to a session like this and you kind of hear all the info, just eating lunch, cupcakes on your brain, and then we leave here and we don't actually, we think, oh yeah, that will be nice one day, but we don't actually implement any of the stuff that we're talking about. Alright, so that's what we're going to do. Before we do that, let's all stand. You cannot have a vocal workshop without singing something at the beginning. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved the wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. And now with harmony and with all you got, it was grace. It was grace that taught my heart to fear, and grace my fears relieved. How precious thing that grace appeared. The hour I first believed. Beautiful. Amen. You can grab a seat. Isn't there something powerful about singing? I mean, like the first verse, my mind was preoccupied with, we were doing a workshop and blah, blah, blah. But by the second verse, it's just like, wait, take a moment, breathe, take in the moment. Just enjoy God's presence amongst us. Enjoy what it sounds like when a room full of people worship together. And, I mean, singing is just such a huge part of Scripture. It's throughout Scripture. And I always say to people, we sing because God sings.
Amen.
And that for me is going to be one of the most mind-blowing moments when we get to eternity and we hear God sing. Okay? What is it going to sound like?
Sure.
Huh? Matthew? How many harmonies can he fit into his one voice? Oh, it's going to be beautiful. And there's just something so powerful. There's people have sung throughout, as I said, people sang throughout Scripture. Throughout the ages, we are a singing people. We are a singing faith. We express ourselves in song, and it's part of our relationship with God. It's part of our love's relationship is to write songs that reflect how we feel about Him, who He is to us. And it's just so powerful, and that's why it's a huge part of our services. It's part of our corporate coming together. We can just come together and we can just read the Word. That's amazing. That's exactly what we need. But there's this desire within us to express ourselves back to God, to give something back to Him. And it just flows so naturally in singing. So obviously, not all singing is worship, or worship isn't always singing. You can't really kind of say one is the other, but we can express our worship with singing, and it's a beautiful part of our worship. I want to make this a little bit conversational, so every now and then I'm going to ask questions, and please answer me. So I want to just, off the bat, what do you think is the role of the singers, or the lead vocals or backing vocals, whatever kind of vocals you can think of in a worship team? What are some of the roles that we perform? Maybe let's do hands, but please don't be shy. Come, this is not a shy spot.
For me, it really carries the lead. It carries you somewhere.
Carries you
So the bass can't really lead you like that. In some cases, but the voice is really the lead.
That's right. Anyone else?
It's like the sermon. It's the mouthpiece. You're communicating through spoken word.
Yeah.
So it's carrying whatever message that song is hoping to deliver about God.
Yeah.
At least it's the one that carries it.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was going to say. It's like the translator of the song.
Yeah.
Bringing that to the words of the song.
Yeah.
To inspire the people, because they are the same, or you are almost similar to them. They
Yes.
don't have an instrument. They
That's right.
inspire praise.
Yeah.
When just being there and singing, worshiping, lifting hands.
Because people in the congregation, they can't always identify with the bassist or the drummer. I think a lot of people don't even know what the bassist does. But they're able to identify with the vocals, because you singing, they're singing. Yeah.
Someone said this in church once, and it kind of just stuck in my head. But I think worship is really ministering on people.
Yeah. And doing that through the song. Yeah.
Just a place of like backing vocals or second vocals. Sometimes you feel like, oh no, I don't get to convey the message. I need to keep quiet in the first verse and in this part of the bridge. And I feel like the backing vocals, it says yes to what you're saying.
Yeah.
It fills, and sometimes keeping quiet is also just to fill, and it's like a highlighter, all the important parts.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's often missed completely, or people don't. It's still a place to revere. It's still a
Yeah.
No, and it adds texture, different harmonies. I think add texture. It's not one single tune.
Yeah.
Like it complements the other. So.
One more.
Yeah. No.
So.
You could go.
And for me, it creates order.
Creates order. Dave, I'll let you go.
I think the role of the backing vocals are also to support the lead vocalist. I heard something, one guy said it's like, they are like the wind underneath the wings of an eagle. So your lead vocal is only as good as your backing vocal. So they have the ability to lift it up.
Absolutely. And you feel the difference when, as a leader, when those backing vocals are in there. Like if you sing a new song and they immediately jump in and they harmonize with, it's suddenly like we're going somewhere.
Yes.
Sorry, we'll have more questions later. So you guys, you can share that now. But the one aspect that I really want to focus on this afternoon, one of the roles. So I think we all know, like we're there to convey the words and to structure it, order it in a way that everybody can hear it and make it clear. And that's why often the sound guys will make sure that the vocals are the loudest out of everything, because otherwise, if the congregation is just met with this wall of music, they struggle to hear the melody. And that's really where you want to give. It's like giving them the power to join in. And if they can't hear the singers, then they're uncertain. Should we be singing now, or what exactly is the melody? But you want the congregation to sing with power and confidence, so that's why the vocals are there. But the one aspect I really want to focus on, Colin kind of mentioned it, is we're there to inspire people to worship and inspire people to praise. But I've traveled to a lot of churches in my many years of being around church and stuff, and who can recognize this? Oh, happy day, wash my sin away. Oh, happy day, let me be the same. Who's seen that before? Who's been that before? Who's inspired by that kind of worship? Right?
Like a potential, inspired by the potential.
Inspired by the potential. That person is serving. It's you know. And I think all of us know, like, I mean, even at one stage in Stellenbosch, I tried something called the Smile Police. That was like assigning one person to make sure everybody, like, kind of just remember to, like, your body communicates and all of that. But just take a moment to think, why is it that so often we look miserable when we're leading worship? Because the pastor can tell you 1,000 times, and I promise you, CS has told me 1,000 times, tell the band to smile. But why is it that we look so miserable on stage?
Maybe we
Focused, tired, shy, stressed. All of these things that I think sometimes we don't take the time to actually process what's going on in our hearts and in our heads, and then we don't realize what it looks like on the other side. And this is where I really want to encourage you as well. My testimony, I've been involved with worship for many, many years, but I mean, not that long ago, you know, when I was maybe 8 or 9 years ago, when I was part of the Stellenbosch band, no, a little bit longer, when I was still studying. I had struggled so much with insecurity, all of that stuff that I think if all of us are honest with, a lot of us, we struggle with insecurity. And there's no instrument as personal as the voice. Because everything else, the drums, the bass, the guitar, it's something external. So somebody can criticize it, but it's something external. It's like, you can criticize my guitar playing, but it's something over there on the ground. But if you criticize my voice, it's like you're criticizing me. And if you evaluate my voice, I feel like you're evaluating me. So the voice is very much tied to our sense of self-worth and identity and all of these things. And myself, coming from hugely insecure, hugely aware of just like all the imperfections. You know, we are our own worst judges. We always listen to our voice, and we're the ones hammering on all the parts where we don't get it right. And for myself, it's really been a journey of God establishing my identity in who He's made me to be, and the vessel He's made me to be, to the point where I won't say that now I'm never insecure or whatever, but I'm not afraid, I can say, to make a fool of myself anymore. I'm not afraid to hit a false note by mistake. I'm not afraid. I don't cringe when I hear a recording of myself and I can hear it's false. You know? I don't. And when I'm standing there and leading worship, I'm obviously listening to my voice because I don't want to be singing flat or anything. But I'm not constantly evaluating, like, how does it sound? And how are people perceiving this? And that has been a journey. And I believe it will still remain a journey. And so what I really want to encourage every one of you is God wants to take you on a journey from self-consciousness to a greater revelation of who He is. And being more conscious of who He is and what He is doing, being present to Him and what He's doing in a situation, in a room, than like all eyes on me. And we've got to process these things, because it's one thing to think about this at home and like, okay, no, I'm not going to be self-conscious. But then you get there, you stand like me with all of you looking at me. As soon as the congregation, you've got all these eyes in front of you looking at you, then that's when the battle starts. And when we feel insecure and self-conscious and all of that. But I want to say that stuff needs to be sorted out in your heart with God, and it's something that only He can sort out. No amount of people coming up to you and saying, Matthew, you've got a stunning voice, I love your voice. That is not going to build your confidence. It might build your ego, but it will not build that God confidence that God wants us to have. That confidence where you know that I'm stepping out on faith, not based on who I am, but because of the faithfulness of God. And I really want to encourage you. This is something kind of. If I had to touch on one thing today, it would be this, because I see it everywhere I go. I see vocalists who are self-conscious, who are afraid to step out of the boat, who's afraid to sing a new song, to prophesy, and they're unable to inspire the congregation to worship just because they're so focused on themselves and how they sound and everything. And what I'm saying to you is, no amount of flattery is going to get that out of you. It's taking it to God. And that's why I said this journey of me constantly taking it back to God and saying, God, you know that prayer that Pastor Heinrich read at the end there? All those things that we desire. God, I want people to like me. I want people to praise me. I want people to blah, blah. God, remove that desire. Give me a greater revelation of who you are. Okay. So just a couple of keys that will help you around this. Practical things that I found is, when you get the songs in the week, you cannot be just focused on the music. You can't just be listening to the melodies and making sure your harmonies are. Ask God for a revelation of what am I singing. Okay, because a lot of you won't necessarily be the worship leader choosing the song. So the worship leader's got this great revelation. We need to sing the goodness of God this week. I'm so excited to declare God's goodness. But now you're the backing vocal. You don't have that revelation the worship leader has. You just get the set list. But now it's your turn to wrestle through the words of these songs and to say, okay, God, what is it that you're wanting to say through this song? What does it mean to sing about your goodness? What does it mean that your love and mercy follow me all my days? You know, wrestle through the lyrics and ask God. The Holy Spirit is faithful. More than we wanted, He wants it for us to give revelation of what we're singing. So ask God for a revelation of what you're singing. Something very practical along with that will help you is memorize the lyrics. Who here memorizes the lyrics for Sunday? Okay, a few. Guys, this is one of the easiest ways to step out of that just being kind of constrained to just the musical side, where if you want to be present to what God is doing in worship, you cannot be fixated on a piece of paper in front of you. Okay? So it takes a bit of work, but I promise you, standing on the other side, I promise you that the effort is worth it. Because who knows, it can be How Great Is Our God, which you've sung 1,000,000 times. If there's a piece of paper on the music stand in front of you, you will be, How Great Is Our God. You know, if it's there, it becomes a comfort. It becomes something to hide behind. And that's that's one of the steps to coming out of our wrestling through our self-consciousness, and that is to say, God, I'm not going to hide behind something that gives me comfort. I'm going to memorize these lyrics. I'm going to spend time with them to wrestle through what they mean, so that when I sing them, I'm not just focused on how I sound, but I'm declaring truth, and I've worked through this truth. I know that it's true that God is good. Amen? Okay, so I know it's scary to think of memorizing all your words, and I would suggest start slowly. You know, if you've got 5 songs in the set list, start with 1. Just memorize 1, and then importantly, don't have the music there. Okay? Because if it's there, as I say, you will look at it. So start with 1 song out of the 5, and then build it up. Gradually, you'll build up a repertoire of songs that you know well. And for myself, so I never have music in front of me, unless sometimes if it's a new song where I'm scared I'm going to get very tangled, if it's like a brand new song, then I'll have a cheat sheet where I like put the first few words down of each line, and that kind of helps me for the first week or 2 that I'm leading that song until I'm really confident with it. Okay, but this is really something practical that you can do. Along with this, just we're all aware, I'm sure, that our faces and our bodies communicate way more than what comes through our mouth, right? So that's why when I gave the example of happy day, does this look like a happy day? No, because our bodies aren't communicating that. And so I think it's important for us to grow an awareness of what we're communicating through our bodies and through our faces. But I kind of feel like this is towards the this is the external stuff. God needs to come and do the internal stuff. You can't start with the external. You can't say, I'm going to stand there, I'm just going to smile my way through worship. If God is not busy with you in the heart. Okay? But that said, that doesn't mean we ignore what's going on the outside. And if you want to do a frightening exercise, ask somebody to make a video of you in worship one Sunday. Has anybody ever done that? Anybody seen a video of themselves in worship? Yeah, I've seen myself. It's not good. Like, I know all about these things. So I know it's intimidating and it's terrifying and all of this. But I think it's important for us. If we're wanting, we say, Colin said it, this is part of our role, is to inspire the congregation. And this is not going to inspire the congregation. But, oh, happy day, declaring it with faith, using your body. If it's the greatest day in history, how should my body respond? And then kind of starting from that side. A lot of people at this point ask me, but that feels like faking it. That feels like if I have to remind myself to smile, it feels like I'm faking it, like it feels like I'm not being myself. And actually Pastor Fred once had a great answer for that. He said, just ask any parent who's had a bad day at work and they get home to their child, are they faking it when they make the decision that no matter what I've experienced at work and my hard day and all the things that went wrong, I'm going to go into this house and I'm going to be joyful with my child. I'm going to show them love and excitement and joy and all of these things. And I think that's the heart that we need to have. We're there to serve the church. And I guarantee you there are going to be Sundays when you do not feel like smiling, when you don't even want to be on the stage. I've had those Sundays. Normally, and I think it's important to, just on the side, if you have those moments, like I've had rough weeks where the last thing I want to do right now is lead worship. It's just, what I always do is I just consecrate myself to God. So just take a moment. Don't just go into it and kind of push through the motions or run through the motions. But I'll say, God, you know my heart. I'm not feeling this. I don't want to be here, blah, 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 blah. But God, I give you this moment. I want to serve your church, and I want you to use me despite me. Thank you, Holy Spirit, that you don't need me, that I'm just a donkey. I feel like a donkey, but I thank you that you can use a donkey. And I consecrate it to God. And time after time, God is faithful. Him breaking through in worship doesn't depend on my emotions. That was what Matthew was saying. It's about obedience. And obviously, I don't think we should be feeling like that every Sunday. If we're feeling like that every Sunday, then there's maybe deeper stuff that we need to go and wrestle through. But we're going to have our off days, but we decide to serve the church. We're there because we love the church. We love the people of God, and we're there to serve them. So we're going to display joy because we want them to encounter God as the God is joy, who's full of joy. Amen? Amen. Okay, cool. As we're speaking about facial expressions and so on, I'll maybe just mention, practically it helps to have eyes open as well. That's another way that we comfort ourselves. I still fall for this trap. If you're feeling insecure or something, eyes are shut, because then you cut off yourself. If I can't see you, you're not there. But then, in a sense, we're disconnecting ourselves, and we're saying it's me and it's you, and we're not in this together. And so I really believe in keeping eyes open. If you can't do it the whole way through, or if it feels awkward for you the whole way through, just every now and then, open your eyes, just gauge what is God doing in the room. Because I also think sometimes we miss what God is doing in the room, just because we're kind of standing there having our own moment, and we're actually missing when God starts to move in a way that we didn't expect. So eyes open helps a lot. Something else as well as we're speaking about expressive praises. Did you guys realize that often you're the only ones with arms free to raise? Because everybody else has an instrument in their hands.
Yeah.
And so isn't it funny that the entire worship set you can go through 5 songs and nobody is raising their hands in the air, and we expect the congregation to express themselves. And it's just because, practically speaking, the guitarist can't, because there's no sound. Drummers, drummers will never put their hands in there because they're always playing. And so that's why it's something that many times only you as the vocalist can do. So I encourage you, raise your hands. And also just being aware of what the song is saying. If we sing, we dance. Isn't it weird? Okay? And we'll be a dancing generation. Like, this will stand still. Huh? Or shouting, or clapping hands, or bowing. I know it's sometimes awkward. You can't bow like every time you say the word bow. But whenever a song mentions bow, I will at least do this. Because it's important, because it's part of reinforcing that we believe what we're singing. We're not just singing words. We understand that we're putting this in action. We're putting our faith to what we're singing. Okay, we're not just singing melodies. So please do that. Please wrestle through those things. And right at the end, I actually want us to, just in 2 or 3, pray together around this whole thing of insecurity. I really believe God wants to set some people free today. And it's never going to be a once-off, like, I'm free, I can be myself now and I'm not ashamed or whatever, It's a journey. But let's commit to that journey of God making us less self-conscious and more aware of what He is doing. Okay, a couple of practical things that I want to speak about, some warm-ups and harmonies and vocal dynamics and so on. I'm always interested to ask this question. Who warms up before worship? Okay. So I will assume that those who didn't raise their hands do not warm up.
It depends.
Sometimes you do that. I really believe that warming up your voice is very important. It's important to care for you, as a way to care for your voice and to make sure that you're going to last. It's important so that when you're in worship, you're not sounding like a frog. Like you're able to hit the notes that you need to hit. You're not, because I know for myself, if I don't warm up, my voice is really shaky. In a way, I'm much more, have a greater tendency to sing false and all of those things. So my warming up is part of my worship. It's part of my preparation. It's the fact that I'm not just pitching on Sunday and like, okay, the greatest day, You're not just starting there and kind of warming up through. I've kind of got it to the point where I've got 5 or 6 warm-up exercises that I go through every time before I lead worship, before I sing. And I normally do it in the car on the way to church. I know it's tough early in the mornings. But it's sometimes, I find it so automatic that sometimes I get in my car and then I start warming up, even though I'm not on my way to worship. But that's not a bad thing. Like if you're ever in the car, or I don't know if it works on trains and buses and things as well, you can just kind of get into the habit of getting your voice warmed up. So I want to see who's brave, who's going to teach us one of their warm-up exercises. You've been waiting for this moment.
So definitely breathing.
Let's stand together, just also get the blood flowing again.
Cool. So just always it always starts with breath. So I'll definitely key into that. So and breath is connected to your body. So even though you'd like to think it's just your vocal cords, your whole body is involved in singing. So just give it a little stretch up and breathe in up there. Nice. Stretch it and bring it back and breathe out. Link it behind. Okay. Breathe in. And breathe out. And just moving those shoulders around a little bit.
She's really good.
To the right. To the left. To the right. To the left. And just to start breathing again, you're just going to... Okay, and let it all go out. And then when you're breathing in, just put your hands over here. Breathing in, get your shoulders steady. And again. And again. Now you're just going to add a bit of voice, but now when you start breathing, really when you start singing, don't push your voice immediately. Just give your body time to wake up and get your vocal cords ready. So we're going to do the brrr again, and you're just going to go brrr. I don't have any breath now, that's why I can't. Right? That's a good sign to see if you have any fuel in your tank, right? Okay, so we're going to breathe in again. And very lightly.
Give her a hand. Okay, so that was a great start. You can take a seat. I'm sure there's lots. Hopefully you guys know a few more. That lip roll is a great way to start. That's normally how I start. As well, like getting the what you do with the stretching in the beginning, like everything is connected. It's all related to blood flow and everything. So, like especially in the mornings, it's important to some people do jumping jacks and stuff like before, just to kind of get the body warmed up and going. It helps a lot. And then that is sound. Did anyone feel their lips tingling? Yeah, kind of as they're starting to warm up. So those are nice and easy, and you don't want to push it as well. Some people tend to push it in their warm-ups, and then they're exhausted by the time they get to worship. But I encourage you to do that, and you even get videos on YouTube, like one which I've downloaded. I have on my phone, so I can just play it.
We are starting with the hum.
Sorry. I love his accent. We are starting with the hum. So there's tons of videos on YouTube. Find one that works for your voice range, because some are more for girls, some are more for guys. Download it. That's an easy way. Then you don't have to worry about starting on the right key or anything. You can literally follow the piano like you was doing there. But guys, this is part of our worship. This is part of our preparation. So in the week, we're wrestling through the songs. We're spending time in the songs. But as well, we never show up without having warmed up our voices. Okay. I want to, maybe I'll quickly ask, are there any questions so far?
I'm just conflicted with you saying the closing of the eyes during worship, because I'm actually a firm believer. Yes, you must be connected, open your eyes, see where the congregation is, but I also feel like you as a worshiper are not worshiping.
Yes.
And closing your eyes and connecting to God, then what are the people then doing? Because then they're also going to be open eyes. That's just my experience. So I'm for it, for closing eyes and really worshiping and giving your all when you're on the stage, because that's what Gordon was talking about, inspiring worship. Because how can I inspire worship if I'm not worshiping?
Yeah.
I don't know, but I just think there's like a fine balance between the opening, keeping your eyes open, and closing your eyes. So I think that's maybe where we need to get that balance, and maybe you can share on how to get that balance between opening and closing your eyes.
Do you have a...
I want to say something about the opening your eyes and looking what others are like, or looking at someone. This is the God that we are singing about. Like we are sharing that, like we are enjoying.
Yeah. So what you're saying is, we need to remember that it's corporate worship. That's why, like a song like "How Great Is Our God," sing with me. We're not singing that out into the random air. We sing it literally to one another. We're saying to one another, "Sing with me, how great is our God." So, but I completely agree. It's definitely a balance, and I'm not saying it's one or the other. It's, I think bottom line is, yes, we need to be worshiping because if we're not engaging with God, if we're not present to Him, then we're just putting on a show. But how you do that, some people can do that with their eyes open. Some people feel like they can only do it with eyes closed. I'm just challenging those. If you feel like you can only do it with your eyes closed, try to trust God that you can move to the place where you can worship, because it doesn't say in Scripture, close your eyes to worship, you know. We can worship with our eyes open as well. I just think that many times we close eyes more out of insecurity than actual, like, because we want to worship. So I definitely close my eyes for a large part of worship personally as well. But I'm also try to force myself to be aware. It's not just me connecting with God, it's all of us connecting with God. So engaging with the people. Yeah,
And just on that, something that clicked for me, and I was thinking about eyes closed when Matthew spoke about don't come and do your devotion on the Sunday.
Yeah.
And because that's also like, okay, now I'm so in tune, I need to focus on God and to get it right so that we can do this. But that was for me, and that's, I think many of us come there and then, you know, you want to do this thing and you don't, yeah. Maar ek weet sy worship lekker. I think with the preparation in the week, it's gonna just boost the confidence on stage.
Yes.
And that thing that when me stand there and that you don't want to look someone in the eye and think, oh, why aren't you worshipping with me? Like, but if you come with the confidence and you declare and you know what the Lord wants to bring, and you've got this expectation for them, then you can actually draw it out with your eyes and with the body language that we're speaking about. And just with that confidence.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody can sense it. This, not the confidence in you, but the spirit.
Yeah.
You know what I'm what we're speaking about the whole day.
I'm going to let Hayden be the last one now, but I just want to kind of follow up on that. Hopefully what you're picking up as we speak about all these things is just to be intentional. And things don't necessarily just drop naturally or come naturally. And I think if we're all honest, as vocalists, I think many times the vocalists feel like there's not so much pressure. I'm not playing an instrument. So as long as I know the song, I can just rock up. And I won't ask for a show of hands who's just arrived at Sunday, like without really thinking through the songs or preparing parts or even listening to the songs. And so hopefully as we're speaking through some of these things now, it's challenging you that as soon as those songs are out, I mean, you don't have to wait for the songs to be out to be praying for the service. And to be asking God, what is it that you're wanting to do? And I mean, you know that God's given the worship leader a vision or an aspect, but God also wants to speak to you about what He wants to do on Sunday, to bring something complementary. And a lot of that comes through our wrestling through the lyrics, our praying, our preparation, and like Yanni said, you know, spending our time with God in the week so that we come fully prepared and ready for what God wants to do on the Sunday.
I think there's also another practical level to having your eyes open, in the sense of sometimes like a worship leader or somebody in the band is like in this deep worship mode and the pastor's trying to get their attention and it's super distracting. Or even if you're worship leading and your drummer is like lost in the moment, his eyes are off, and you're like trying to get him to come down and he's going up, you know. There's a practicality to it as well.
Okay, I want to move on from there to quickly chatting about harmonies. A lot of these topics I'm just like touching on very lightly because we don't have time to go into them too in depth. So it's more about touching on these concepts, and if there's, as I said, you're making notes of the things that you need to follow up on. Can I ask you to be honest? Who here doesn't know how to harmonize or know what harmony really is? I know there's going to be more than a couple.
I can do it a little bit.
Okay, little bit. Okay. So when I joined the worship team, I also didn't know how to harmonize. It is an amazing tool, and especially as we speak in the next section, I want to speak about song dynamics, which is just about how you can use your voice to help the song grow and rise and fall and all of that. But once you kind of grasp it and you sort of understand it, it's just a matter of practice, 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 practice. Don't stop singing harmony. If you're in the car and you're listening to music, sing harmony. If you're in church and you're just in the congregation, sing harmony. Like, just practice it. You're walking through the mall and you hear a song on the radio, sing harmony. Okay. It's just a matter of singing and becoming comfortable. And what I found was the first, if you understand, if I can get that first note, then I can sort of follow it for a little bit, and then I tend to lose it and go horribly false. But as you practice it, you become quicker at making these changes along with the melody. All right, but harmony is amazing.
James, can I say something on
Yes.
that as well? Also, when you're listening to most of the worship songs, Bethel, your songs, whatever, there will always be harmony, upper and a lower one. So how I learned harmony, I learned by hearing what specific harmony are they singing, and I would just sing that harmony the whole time. So that was for me like a practical way also.
Harmony comes from hearing, and hearing from the word Bethel. No, that's and to make it even easier, choose music start with where there's two vocals. Something like Crossing Crowns, Shane and Shane if you want to sing stratospheric harmonies. All Sons and Daughters, some of the older Jesus Culture stuff where it was just Chris and Kim. So then you can, when it's just two vocals rather than a big blend, then it's a lot easier to hear the harmony, and then like Annie was saying, you just copy it and go. That's a great way to learn. Okay, something else I'm very passionate about is vocal dynamics. All right, and that is for us to realize that a song has a journey. Every song has a journey of highs and a journey of lows. And let me get my guitar. I gave my demonstration just now of what I often see in churches with Happy Day. The other thing I see as well is we do Happy Day again. The greatest day in history, the death is me, and you have rescued me. Like, everything in, all systems go. We're in here. But now, what is the problem with that? Where do you go from there? Octave it up. If I was magic, I could octave up on the chorus, but I can't do that. So, that at least woke you guys up. What is really important with songs is to take each song, and this again is part of your preparation in the week, and as you're listening through it, listen to what are the high moments, what are the low moments, what are the gentle moments, what are the big moments. And if you can hear in the vocals what they're doing to support that, do that. But after a while, you kind of learn an intuition for this yourself. Because you don't have an instrument, but you've got an instrument. Right? You don't have a guitar that can play softly and then play loud, but you've got a voice that can sing softly and then sing loud. And there's various ways you can bring... thanks, brother. There's various ways that you can... I offended him, it's fine. Let's sort it out. There's various ways you can bring in these dynamics. So what I normally do with a song is I look at it and I look, where is the biggest moment in the song? And so most songs, it'll be like the final chorus. Or a song like, I always use the example, is He Is Faithful. The biggest moment of that song is that bridge. And everything builds towards that bridge. So what that means is, when we get to the bridge, I need to be giving everything I've got in my arsenal of music to make this bridge as big as possible. So everything else I view in relation to that bridge. So that means I'm never going to go as big in the choruses or in the verses, because I'm holding back until I get to the bridge to be as big as possible with that. Because what we're doing is, it's just, if it's just this one big wall of sound, like drums are in, guitars are strumming, all the vocals are in from the beginning, the song gets tiring. It gets it's this long sausage of music. There's nothing interesting about it, and people struggle to engage. Whereas if a song naturally flows with the big moments and the less big moments, then we're able to engage more. I mean, this is not rocket science. We know this intuitively when we listen to music. It's what makes music interesting. Music is as much in the silence between the notes as it is in the notes themselves. And learning to pause where necessary. So there's a few ways you can bring dynamics with your voice. Easiest way is where you choose to sing. Obviously, the worship leader, you should be singing throughout, all right, because you're providing the melody that the congregation is following. But say you're a backing vocal, decide where to sing. And I'm not going to say every time should be, it shouldn't be from the beginning, but I would say the default should be usually stay out in the first verse. Okay, so that when the chorus comes, suddenly, okay, we're taking this up a little, things are going up a little. So that means in the verse, it can just be the worship leader singing. Does that mean I'm standing there? Like, checking my Facebook? No, I'm still engaged, I'm still worshiping, I'm just doing it off mic. Okay, and this is important. If I decide not to sing, it doesn't mean I stop worshiping or I wait for my moment. I'm still engaged. The greatest day in history. And then when the time comes, okay, chorus is a step up, then I can step to the mic and just do what I was doing, but just into the microphone. By the way, do we need to speak about mic technique at all or anything like that? I think actually I know the answer to that question. Because a lot of people don't know how to hold a mic and you can do some weird things with it. So I'm not going to say there's very specific ways to hold it. I find if you hold it like this, you can put a lot of tension into the microphone because you kind of grip it like it's your lifeline. So that's why holding it a bit more loosely, it just helps you in your body and in your mind to register, okay, this is not a tense moment, I can relax. So I tend to hold it a bit loosely. Also avoid holding it kind of around too close to the head part of the pop filter part because that changes the sound. Very important, direct it at your mouth. Okay, these kinds of microphones that we sing into, they only pick up sound, they mostly pick up sound from one direction, not the band, from one direction. Okay? And if you're singing like this, and Yolanda always used to say like you're licking an ice cream, then the sound is going over the mic and it's being altered. The sound is being altered. It's not performing as the mic was designed to be used. So into the mic. In terms of distance, some people say 3 fingers. So if you are unsure, that's just a good. So you're not going to sing like this. But if you just want to get an idea, okay, that's about where it needs to be. But along with that, you need to also learn how your voice works on a mic. So I know my lows, I don't have a lot of power in my lows, so I will go very close. I'll actually, sorry for those who use my mic as well, but I'll often touch the mic. It's a little bit gross when you think how many mouths have touched this mic. But in the moment of worship, it's like on the altar. So do you guys remember anybody who was around worship teams? And not that I was, but I remember being a kid, those worship teams in the 90s with the big orange pop filter. Yeah. Imagine how many germs those spongy things had. In my lows, I will go close, and when I'm belting, I know to step away. So it's kind of in between. If this is at a normal range, I'll go there. When I'm softer, I'll go there when I'm louder. Did you want to also?
Yeah, I just want to know, we're all volunteers, especially at the smaller churches. So what you hear on your monitor, maybe if you just want to help, what you hear on your monitor is not necessarily what the people are hearing. So a lot of the times we tend to, when it's like, oh, I'm loud,
yes.
But then they can't hear. So
yeah.
it's just
Okay, so she made a good point. So what you hear on that monitor through which you hear all the sound on the floor in front of you, that's disconnected to what people on the other side are hearing. Okay, so what often happens is one of two things. Sometimes people are too soft in the monitor because they're too shy to ask for their voice to be on there, and then they can't hear themselves and then they sing flat. So you need to hear yourself, okay? So that means don't be shy to ask the soundman, I need a bit more, I need a bit, especially when drums start coming in and stuff, you're going to need more. But on the other hand, what often happens is people are then too loud in their monitor, and so they get a fright, and like Murray says, they take the mic further away. And now the poor sound guy is getting less signal from you, so he boosts you. And then you get more of a fright, so you take it even further away until you're like standing and then we're all laughing because we've all seen it or done it. And then what happens is that there's feedback, that horrible through the system. And nobody likes that. Nobody likes to be the source of feedback. So what I would say is keep your distance consistent. Make sure and watch yourself. Some people find it easier actually having a mic stand. So even if you don't have an instrument, have the mic stand, and then you kind of gravitate around, be like the moon around the sun, around the earth, sorry. And kind of just keep your distance consistent, all right? Because if you keep going further and further away, you're going to be the cause of feedback. I'm trying to think if that's everything I wanted to say about the mic. The most important thing is direction, and never point it at a monitor, and you're going to get that feedback as well, all right? So if you're not singing into it, like I said, say you're not singing in the first verse, just hold it at your side. You can kind of hold it facing upwards while you're singing. Okay, we're speaking about dynamics. So choosing when to sing in the song. And it's actually, it requires a lot of humility not to sing into the mic. Because I'm there to sing. This is what I came for, man. I want to sing into the mic. And it takes a lot of discipline and humility to say that I'm serving the congregation, I'm serving the song. And if the song doesn't need my voice right now, I'm going to sing off mic until I can add something by coming in on a chorus or something. Another great way to add dynamics is when you choose to use melody and when you choose to use harmony. Because melody has just got, we saw just now with Amazing Grace. It's beautiful and it's consistent and it's uniform, but then suddenly when harmonies start coming in, the song just like explodes in different directions. And it takes on another level. So we're speaking about, if you had to imagine your sound in your mind, map it out. Okay, this is a low part of the song. How do I get this part to be bigger? And even if the musicians are giving all of that they've got, and all the vocals are in unison, on melody, then suddenly if the vocals with the next repeat had to go to harmony, it immediately takes just a further step that the musicians even can't do. So there's stuff that you guys can do that they can't even do.
Sorry, can I make a comment just on that? It's important that the leader stays on melody, right?
Yes.
Because if everybody's just harmonizing,
that's true.
Then
Definitely.
the congregation doesn't really know where they're going.
Yeah. And also, along with that, so if you are harmonizing, just be aware. Some worship leaders have weak voices, and some backing vocals have strong voices. So sometimes you can easily overpower the worship leader when you're throwing your amazing harmonies in there. But then you're not serving the congregation, because the congregation is just hearing harmony. And they can't follow harmony. They can follow, most of them can follow a melody, not so much a harmony. Okay. Mostly. Something else that and this might feel a bit counterintuitive to what I just said, or contrasting to what I just said, is using the distance from the mic as well as a method of just creating some dynamics. So sometimes I like a song to sound like there's more than one vocal, because it can be very bare if it's just the worship leader singing. But I don't want everybody in there close to the mic. So then I often ask the backing vocals, sing with me, sing melody, you can even sing harmony with me, but then just hold the mic away a little bit. So then it's carried, and the people on the other side can kind of pick up, there's more than one voice here, but it's not like we're a ensemble kind of thing. We're not doing like choir vibes here. Okay. But that means you need to have control over your mic, and you need to have a good relationship with your sound guy, that he doesn't think, oh, they're singing far away, and he doesn't boost you, all of those things. Okay. I wanted to do let's just do it just for the heck of it. You can stay seated, but let's do the verse of How Great Thou Art. Everybody in unison. And then when we get to the chorus, some people stay in, let's maybe do this side in unison, in melody, and this side in harmony. Just maybe close your eyes while we're doing this, and just listen to our song, because now the chorus is the highlight of this song. It doesn't have a bridge, okay? So we always want the chorus to stand out above the verses. So just listen to how it takes on just a new level as we go into the chorus. I'll give us a key. Oh Lord my God, when I in awesome wonder consider all the works thy hands have made. I see the stars. I see the stars. I hear the mighty thunder that pass throughout the universe display. That's a harmony. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art! How great thou art! Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art! How great thou art! We must record a CD together. Beautiful. Okay, no, that's awesome. And do you see the difference? Just going from unison, from just melody, to suddenly harmony just breaks things open. Okay, I'm going to end off with one section because I want to give us 5 minutes to pray together as well. Before I forget, a tip, practical tip. Who knows that when it comes to sound check, Simon is like, okay, I want you to sing a song. Every song you've ever heard in your entire life suddenly bankrupts. Like it leaves your mind. That always happens, and the other thing that always happens is that you always sound check after Celine Dion. Like the person who sound checks before you is like, doing all these crazy things with their voice, and now you have to say. It always happens. There's always somebody with an amazing voice who sound checks before you, and then you feel the pressure. So find yourself a sound check song, okay, and keep that song, and let that be your sound check song that you sing every Sunday. And let it be something that you're confident with. Let it be something, I don't know why I feel like I need to speak. Let it be something that you're confident with, something that you know works with your range, not something that's not too low, that gives the sound man a good idea of kind of what you're going to be singing into the system. And especially so that after Celine has sung a song, but you know you sound good on the song, so it's like, it's fine. I'm ready for my sound check. Okay, that's something practical. And then, last thing I want to mention is when it comes to spontaneous worship, vocals often feel awkward when it comes to spontaneous worship because you don't have a keyboard that you can look cool behind or like guitar and you're just kind of standing there like, what now?
Time to close your eyes.
It's time to close. That is a good time to close your eyes. What I really want to encourage you with is that every one of you has the Holy Spirit inside of you. Every one of you can hear the voice of God.
Amen.
Every one of you, God can use you. It's not just the worship leader. And this is something I often need to encourage backing vocals with. Is like, I praise God that it's not just me that hears His voice as the worship leader and has to now lead us somewhere, but it's all of us together I mean, we saw it this morning. There was this one moment when Louis just started playing the drums. It was funny. Like, I was kind of being somebody who wasn't in the band. I was thinking, like, I kind of felt like I could take this down now. And if I'd been leading worship, I probably would have taken it down. But then Louis started going up. And then I just had this moment where I was like, I'm so glad he did, because I would have missed the moment that he actually took us there. And so that was the drummer. And the same with all of you guys. You can hear the voice of God. And I want to encourage you to expect songs. Expect prophetic songs that are right for the moment, that God can use you. And there's a few guidelines around this. Go listen to Matthew's session from this morning, number 1. That was so powerful and so encouraging and so challenging. For us to realize this does not happen on a Sunday. This happens in our intimacy with God. This happens in the secret place where nobody is watching. This is where that's where we learn to prophesy, is in our intimacy with God. And we start by prophesying to ourselves. And then God leads us to prophesy over other people. But that happens in the secret place before it happens on stage. Okay? And so if you're wanting to begin to flow in the prophetic and the spontaneous, if you're wanting to sing kind of songs in the moment, it needs to be happening at home. And I've seen it because it's about learning as well to. It's one thing to have an idea of God wants to say this. It's another thing to put it in a melody. That is, especially because you get kind of songs that you just sing over the congregation and they just listen, and that's great. I don't often get songs like that. I get more like kind of catchy 2 or 3 lines that then I invite the people to sing with me. But to be able to do that, I need to become more comfortable with coming up with kind of catchy lines. You know, you need to be, okay, God has said, I'm your father, you are my child. I can sing that 1,000 different ways. How do I do that? And because I've spent time on my own, just worshiping freely, I know what it feels like to come up with a new melody on the spot. Kind of thing. So I want to encourage you, but that's just one aspect. Same, if you more like a Matthew who can just sing a whole song over people, or Esty, those who know Esty, can sing a whole song over people, you also need to be practicing that on your own. And then when it comes to the moment of worship, just really learning to relax, to be present to what God is doing. If we're self-conscious, it's not going to happen. If we focus on how we're sounding and how we're looking and all of that, we're not going to hear what God is wanting to say over these people in front of us. And then, again, just some guidelines. There is structure in worship. So I do believe if you're on backing, just get the worship leader's attention, nudge them on the elbow or whatever, and just say, I feel I've got something, can I share it? I don't believe in just like launching into something, just like as the worship leader is about to do something else, and then it just creates confusion. So that said, I mean, sometimes there's really great relationship within the band. So I know there's a few people who sing with me, and like they don't even have to ask me. I create. Sometimes I even know before they're going to sing that they're going to sing now, and then I step away from the mic, and then they start singing without asking me. But that's from many years of relationship. So in general, just can I share this? And I encourage you, for those who are worship leaders, to create space for the backing vocals to minister. And it's small steps of obedience. Yeah, if you've ever done it before, like everything inside of you is trembling. And like, I know I need to sing this now, but I don't know how it's going to come out. The worst is sometimes God will say, you need to sing something now, but he won't tell me what until I open my mouth and start to sing. Anyone experience that? Okay. It's terrifying, but God is saying, I need to sing, and then and it's about these small steps of obedience that lead to becoming, I think it's just about learning. God is faithful. God wants to speak to his people. God wants to speak to his people. God wants to speak through us, and we can rest. It's like children coming before their father. If we ask for bread, he's not going to give us a stone. And knowing that about our Father, that he wants to speak to us. I actually so badly wanted us to do a practical. Maybe you can do it within your worship teams. Graham Kendrick taught this to us, psalm surfing. So take a psalm, and then he did it kind of one by one. But I think what you could do is everybody open a psalm on your phone, say like the Psalm 100 or whatever, and then each one takes a verse, and then maybe you have a guitar playing in progression, and then this person sings a melody on verse 1, and next person in the circle sings a melody on verse 2. Kind of just gradually becoming comfortable with one another to sing fresh melodies and to sing new songs. Take Psalm 119 and you can be busy for a while, depending on how much time you have. Okay, so that's unfortunately all the time we've got, and I want us to quickly pray together. So just the person next to you, quickly share in 15 seconds each, what is the one thing that you're going to take from here, that you're going to trust God for, or you're going to develop, or you're going to go research. And then also just pray over one another, pray a blessing specifically. Maybe you can just check in with one another. Like, how do you feel? Do you feel self-conscious when you're singing, or is it something that God still wants to wrestle with you through? If you don't, then you can just pray over the other person. but let's just pray together specifically for that God would take us on that journey from self-consciousness to just being more aware of Him and His faithfulness. Amen.
Amen.